Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. We just wanted to do a little piece here kind of about how we were fishing, what we looked at, and how we got to where we ended up. You probably saw when we were on the water, when we started the day, the wind conditions were fairly calm. Water temperature was about in the 60s. That didn't change most of the day, but as we fished yesterday, the wind really picked up toward the end of the day. Actually, about midday to the end of the day, it really picked up. And oddly enough, I would suspect that the fish would come closer to the surface when there's chop on it, and sometimes they do. But the fish actually went a little deeper. So we started running about 1.5 colors on a lead core at about 2.1, which is, you know, maybe 7-8 feet deep, maybe. And ended up the day we were fishing 2.5 colors, sometimes 3 colors deep on the lead core rigs. So they actually went a little bit deeper. There was a lot of predation on the lake yesterday. We noticed ospreys and eagles. We saw at least 2 instances of them pulling fish out of the water. So the fish that were on the surface were taking a beating by the predators. We didn't make any drastic changes yesterday, so it was not uncommon for me in the past to really make some drastic changes, go from a spinner to some really aggressive spoon and to some other bait. I didn't do any of that yesterday, so I stuck yesterday with spoons essentially and plugs. I think Pete fished a couple of other things, maybe a fly, things like that, but by and large we fished things that weren't drastic changes. So what we changed was the depths and a little bit of the colors that we used. So sometimes the colors are really what they key in, sometimes not. You know, Cal talks about it a lot. He talks about having confidence in your lures, and confidence in your lures is a great thing. So if you feel like you're fishing something really good and successful and it's working for you, that really builds up your confidence and you do fish better. I absolutely believe that. And taking the fish's temperature, that's something else that we got from Cal Kellogg over on Fish Hunt Shoot. Real big fan of his channel, you should check it out. And essentially all that means is starting with something and changing slight things to really see what the fish are really biting on. So I'm really bad about availability bias, and I continue to fish the same thing over and over and over until it's absolutely not working. And a lot of times that doesn't do you a lot of good, or as much good as you're not catching as many fish as you could catch, because the fish are going to tell you what they want. Just because I want to fish a spoon or a plug doesn't mean that they don't want a spinner or a soft plastic or something like that. So when you find those things that are actually working, it's important to experiment a little bit with them, with that particular lure, in speed, depth. So speed, depth, color, and the presentation are the 4 things that you're really going to experiment with. But once you find something that they like, you don't need to drastically change the way that you're trolling or what you're trolling. We've been going a little bit faster of late, and that's another thing. If you're fishing with a partner, if you got 2 or 3 or 4 rods in the water, you want to make sure that the stuff that you have in the water is compatible stuff. So I really like quick fish and flatfish and things like that. They don't troll well at 2.5 miles an hour. At some point they start to spin. So if I was trying to fish that while Pete was fishing, let's say a speedy shiner or any kind of spoon with a thin profile that works well at higher speeds, a crip lure, let's say, those 2 things are not super compatible. So one of us is going to be fishing and one of us is going to be kind of dragging something behind the boat. So that's one of the things that we thought about and how we did it. We're pretty familiar with that lake and the conditions that are there. It seems like we get blown off that dang lake just about every time we go. So we know where to troll when the wind is like it is. That's not to say it's the best trolling, it's to say it's the easiest place to troll. You can go down there and fight the wind if you want to, but you're not fishing effectively and you're not fishing with confidence, in my opinion. You may pick up some fish, but you're mostly fighting for boat control, you know, and you're fighting for course and stuff like that. So much prefer to fish a little bit slower in the windy conditions, you know, to find the fish where it doesn't beat you up and you're not spending all your time throttling and controlling the boat. So that's kind of what we did yesterday, and I hope that helps you land some more fish.
That's awesome.
So here we are out at American Lake again. It is the 29th of May. Water temperature's hovering pretty high. It's indicating about 60. We saw 56 when we got on the water, 60 right now. marking a fair number of fish. We're fishing close to home this weekend. Both of us have some duty obligations for work, so this is kind of the closest lake to us that we fish quite a bit, so we might see a couple of times where we're fishing it. It's about 1,100 acres. Right now we're trolling right along the VA. I'm running a lead core at about 1.5 colors with a Yo-Zuri El Minnow. Pete's running that orange pinhead spoon that was killer over there at Lake Roosevelt on lead core, about 2.5 colors down. And then he's running a top line fly way back behind the boat on a conventional rod. So we'll see what that does for us. So I had that El Minnow in the water for about 3 minutes and it got hit. So we'll see what we got here. Probably not much. This time of year they've planted the lake, so you know you're looking at a fair number of smaller planter trout probably. We just had an incursion with a fishing superstition here. Pete was trying to rig up, put a new lure on, tossed it in the water without snapping it to his line. How the hell did we do that? I mean, I think everybody's probably done that once or twice, but he admitted to actually eating a banana while he was rigging the boat this morning. So he brought the banana on the boat, which everybody knows you can't have bananas on boats. All right, after the banana incident, Pete's actually got one hooked up on a cripple lure. First fish we picked up, we were in about 60 feet of water running that line. So there's that orange and gold cripple lure. That's the one I was doing well with in Lake Roosevelt. So we just picked one up on the cripple lure again. About the same as what we've been catching. Pete's got one tied up on I believe it's a silver and pink wedding ring. That's not a bad trout. I mean, he's no monster for size, but I don't think you need a net one, Pete. Unless you want for 40. Just waiting for something out the net. Yeah. Well, hook sure make a.
Mike's hooked up again with that El Minnow perch pattern.
Odd because I just pulled that thing out of my tackle box last night, so let's give this a try. He's a little guy.